One of the more sensitive components on your motorcycle for maintenance is your final drive chain. If you neglect it, your chain and sprockets could wear out and become unserviceable in as little as 3,000 miles. But with proper care and maintenance, you can see as much as 30,000 miles out of a quality set of steel sprockets and a high-quality chain. The key to getting the most out of your chain and sprockets is to clean and lubricate it regularly. The schedule that we've adopted is that we like to clean our chain every time we wash the motorcycle, or at the very least, every time we change the oil. You should be lubing your chain every 300 to 500 miles, or every other tank of gas, depending on your riding conditions. If you ride in dusty or wet conditions, you'll need to increase the frequency of your maintenance accordingly. Water actually strips chain lube away from the chain, so you should be lubing your chain after every time you get caught out in the rain. What's more, a properly lubed chain will not only be quieter, but it'll also slightly increase your fuel mileage as well. In fact, a properly lubed chain reduces rolling resistance enough that it can actually be seen as a slight increase in horsepower on dyno runs. And now for the safety message. Do not, please do not, under any circumstances, start the engine, put it in first gear, and let the motor spin the rear wheel while you perform any kind of maintenance to the chain. I've personally known more than one person who has lost fingers to this practice, and if you need any further convincing, and if you have a strong stomach, do a few internet searches on the subject. Too many people have lost fingers and have mangled hands from trying to save a few seconds. It only takes a fraction of an instant for something to get snagged and get drawn in between the chain and the sprockets. So please keep the engine off and the bike in neutral. Now, with that out of the way, for the sake of clarity, we're going to start by cleaning the chain first. Despite all that you've heard, WD-40 is actually not a very good product for cleaning or lubing a chain. It can actually displace the grease behind the O-ring or the X-rings in an O-ring chain. But more than that, it's actually probably the slowest and most time-consuming method because there are other products available that do a much better job of cleaning the chain. There are lots of products on the market that are designed just for cleaning a chain, and they are certainly more effective than WD-40. Now, we've tried many of these chain cleaners, and they do an okay job. They certainly work better than WD-40, but they still can't hold a candle to the product that we've been using for decades, which happens to be the product that chain manufacturers have been recommending, and that's kerosene. For clarity, kerosene is not the same as camp fuel. Camp fuel is what's known as white gas, and it's extremely volatile and a pretty harsh solvent. Kerosene is entirely different. Typically, but not always, kerosene will come in a blue can and camp fuel will come in a red can. Don't use camp fuel. It's so volatile that it can be ignited by a hot fart. And as we mentioned, it's so harsh that it can actually do damage to your chain. Kerosene, on the other hand, is much more gentle, and it'll actually clean your chain to looking brand new so quickly that you won't believe your eyes. Something else to consider, chain cleaners like this one cost around $10 and will clean about 3 to 4 chains. While the kerosene does cost $20, a bottle like this one will last us about 3 years. To get the most out of our kerosene, we will employ a generic spray bottle available in most grocery stores, so we can spray the kerosene directly onto the chain. But whatever cleaner you choose to use, we encourage you to avoid any kind of degreaser. We've seen people use really harsh stuff like parts cleaner, the aerosol parts cleaner, and carb cleaner, and things like that. And yeah, they do a great job of getting the grease off the chain, but they're just far too brutal. They damage the O-rings, and as soon as those O-rings crack or fail, then any of the lube that's actually inside the chain from the manufacturer just comes out. Even some of your real gentle degreasers like Simple Green and Purple Power, they're still just far too harsh for the O-rings. So we encourage you to just stick with kerosene. And as soon as you use kerosene and see how well it works, you'll be sold. The final thing we recommend you obtain before you start is a grunge brush. It's less than 15 bucks and you should be able to find it at your local motorcycle dealer. And if not, it's readily available online. Another great little product that will make the job easier is this spiral brush made by Tyrox, available for about the same price. To best clean your chain, you will need to get the rear wheel off the ground so the rear tire spins freely. We suggest covering the work area with towels and even a catch tray is a good idea. The point is you want to prevent getting chemicals onto your rear tire. A little bit of cardboard can go a long way. Use your chain cleaner of choice and liberally spray down the chain, being careful not to spray this stuff onto the tire. And let it soak for a moment before taking your grunge brush and scrubbing down the chain. To check your progress, take a rag and wipe the chain down, removing all the black gunk the chain cleaner has released. Depending on how dirty your chain is, you may need to repeat these steps several times before your chain looks sparkly and brand new again. We also advise that you occasionally remove your front sprocket cover and clean out any buildup that may have collected in there. You can also take this opportunity to clean any other chain lube buildup on the top of the swing arm, near the rear sprocket, or anywhere else chain lube may have been flung. Depending on how dirty your chain was and how big of a mess you made when you cleaned everything off, you may want to take the bike outside and rinse it off with a low-pressure garden hose. Again, no high pressure because high-pressure water can also do damage to the O-rings. Once the chain is clean and dry, then we can move on to lubing the chain. We strongly encourage you to opt for a motorcycle-specific chain lube. Right now, we're a big fan of Motul factory line chain lube. For lubing the chain, we found this amazing product that needs to be in every motorcyclist's garage. It has a silly name, but we cannot speak highly enough of the Grease Ninja. This awesome little product can be ordered at greaseninja.com and costs a mere $15. And it comes in 3 different sizes to fit your specific chain. The Grease Ninja does a fantastic job of placing lube directly over the pins and rollers of the chain without wasting any lube and preventing overspray. Plus, we can attest that our chains have lasted longer and held up better since we started using the Grease Ninja several years ago. We want to take our chain lube of choice and take the little hose and put it into the top of the Grease Ninja block, and then the copper wire wraps around the can so that we can hold it with one hand, leaving the other hand free to rotate the wheel. We want to lube the chain on the inside of the chain. So when the wheel's spinning, the lube actually gets drawn towards the outside. It draws the lube in between the plates and the rollers. If we were to lube the chain on the outside, as soon as we started riding, the lube would just fling off the chain and go everywhere and make a mess. The ideal time to lube your chain is after a ride when the chain is warm. But in this situation where we've cleaned the chain and there's no lube on it at all, we want to lube it right now. Slowly rotate the wheel, allowing the Grease Ninja to slide across the top of the chain until you have a nice light coating all around. Be careful not to over lube the chain. Too much lube will attract dirt and grit and actually cause the chain to wear faster. When you are finished, you should see 2 little beads of lube directly over the chain O-rings between each of the plates. Well, there you have it, a perfectly cleaned and lubricated chain. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this and learned something from it. Be sure to check out canyonchasers.net for more travel logs, how-to videos, product reviews, and much, much more.